Hey guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here to speak about the delay. Of course, I promised it to you guys over the course of the past days that I will be making this video to discuss exactly what's happening for the delay and this whole postponement which once again occurred on Friday. Before I do start, however, I would like to apologize for this past week as I wasn't capable of really posting any videos pertaining to these news. However, this video will specifically, like I mentioned before, point directly to this issue, and I would like for you guys to mention exactly your thoughts on this whole situation in the comment section. And of course, over the course of this live stream, I will be getting to your comments, so make sure you leave those thoughts there. But let's get started with this whole delay. Now, initially, as we all know, the agreements, or at least the negotiations with Sino Europe have been going on for at least 10 months. I think it's been something around that. But already it was supposed to be completed last August. Then there was another postponement towards December. Another one towards March, which was supposed to arrive on March the 3rd. And finally, there's going to be yet another one this time, and it just seems that we cannot get out of this particular deal. I don't know what it is. I don't know why we cannot always find a solution, why Milan always tends to be that club that has all these problems when it comes to financial takeovers. But it is happening again, and I would like to mention a few things why it's happening. And it seems that Sino Europe don't have maybe quite the money yet to pay the remaining of what they owed Fininvest. Now, let's not forget that March 3rd, this was the day that the deal was supposed to be completed. That was the day in which the negotiations were supposed to expire. And what I mean by this is that if they didn't come to an agreement until March the 3rd, then these old negotiations were gonna go down the drain and the whole deal would be collapsing. Now, this was what really brought fear into the eyes of many Milanisti a few days ago. They all thought that this project was not gonna happen anymore, that the sale was pretty much not gonna happen. We weren't gonna be seeing any new owners. We weren't gonna be seeing further investments this coming summer. But there have been since then some more securing thoughts, I guess, or more some considerate news that we should be taking a look at, and that is Fininvest have granted Senior Europe Sports another week to pay at least 100 million euros. Now, let's not forget that Sino Europe has already given Milan 200 million euros, and if they don't give another 100 million euros by next Friday, which is March the 10th, then there's a really big chance of this whole deal collapsing. Now, Senior Europe, after the postponement was announced, they did state that they're still very strongly committed to buying Milan, and they want to reach a solution as soon as possible, and that they already have a business plan ready. But to me, it's just not convincing enough, because we saw it so many times where they said they were ready to pay off whatever money was remaining. There were also news that the agreement could have even came earlier than March the 3rd, back in the February. But this never happened. And we're still here with our arms crossed, waiting for that date to happen. Now, since then, Berlusconi has also come out to mention that Milan fans should not worry about this whole postponement because the investors have already contributed 200 million euros. And to be fair to him, I mean, who in their bright mind will go out of their way to pay 200 million euros for something that, you know, they're still not sure about buying? And this is money that's already in Berlusconi's hands. This is money that's already in Fininvest's hands. So if they do back out of the deal, or they're incapable of going through these negotiations, this is 200 million euros lost for them. And to me, I don't know, but I can't put two and two together in that note. That is why I'm still optimistic about the whole situation. I know many of you have lost a lot of hope. I know a lot of you just can't take this anymore, and trust me, I'm in the same boat as you. I cannot take these news over and over again. You know, it just gives a bad reputation to the club. Personally, I believe that the fans don't deserve this injustice, but there's always an excuse over and over again every time we get close to that date, which is supposed to be the final date. Um, Everything just seems to go and fall apart. So, right now, what we do know is that Senior Europe has to pay these 100 million euros by next Friday, or else the deal could collapse. However, Sky did mention that if the deal does collapse and that if the money does not arrive from Senior Europe, there will be other consortiums ready to take over. Now, this is something that I personally don't want for two specific reasons. First of all, a new consortium would mean that, it will be further negotiations with this new consortium. It will take even more time than what it was originally planned with Senior Europe. All the paperwork needs to be done. Everything needs to be filed. It's going to take months and months and months. And this comes to my second reason as to why I don't want this. And that is, of course, the money to be allocated in the summer transfer window simply won't arrive. And to me, that's a big, big problem, because everyone's reason as to why, or at least most people's reason as to why they want this deal to take place and be finalized already, is because they want to see those transfer funds invested in the summer transfer market. They want to see the big names coming at Milan next summer so that we can compete for other competitions or even in the Serie A itself. So that's the main issue for me, at least, if Senior Europe back out of this whole operation and they're not capable to proceed due to numerous reasons. And that will mean if another consortium comes in, we will have to wait months and months and months before everything will be finalized. At least that's what I believe. That is why I'm still optimistic about this whole situation. Like I said before, 200 million euros is not something someone makes in a day, and to throw it out of the window like that seems to be a bit crazy to me. So I still believe that they will be continuing these negotiations. Fininvest is becoming a bit impatient. I think we all know that, as to why the money is not coming in. But regarding the whole situation, I just find it completely ridiculous. If you guys want to know my take, I think it's completely ridiculous that, teams at a professional level like Milan are not capable of completing certain transactions on time. I know it's not all based on them. I know the Chinese have a lot of say in this. Their law doesn't require such investments, or at least money transfers to Europe so quickly. There's all these regulations put into place that are pretty much not letting this deal be finalized. But to me, I just find it ridiculous that it's been so many months, so many postponements, so many delays, and yet again, we're not capable of finding a solution to this whole thing. Yet again, the Chinese takeover is still unknown. It's still unknown because we don't know whether or not it will be taking place. And it's March already. This was supposed to be done months ago, back in December. Everyone was like, okay, another 3 months. Could this one be the final one? And everyone really believed it was the final one because the negotiations were going on and on back in February. And Senior Europe seemed to be, ready to pay up whatever they needed. The shareholders' meetings were being held and so forth. The communication, the conversations were there. But at the end of the day, yet again, they didn't find an agreement. And now they have another week to pay 100 million euros to Milan. But let's not forget that those 100 million euros are not all that is left. They still have to pay more money. So I honestly don't know what to make anymore of the situation. It's driving me crazy. It's driving you crazy. My head is about to explode with all these news coming in every day regarding the same thing. One day we see it happening. One day they're saying it's not going to happen anymore. So I simply don't know what's gonna happen, but let's hope for the best. I know I've been saying this over and over again, but I feel like this is the only thing I could say at the moment, because I personally have no control over what Fininvest and Steno Europe do. But at the same time, every fan is waiting impatiently for this deal to occur. So let's hope for the best, and let's hope that we do see some progress next week. And like I said before, Berlusconi reassuring the fans that he would have already backed out if he didn't see this project as a serious one. Sure, it's reassuring, but how many times has Berlusconi told us lies and other things that pretty much, pissed off the fans? And that is something that we should be considering as well. But anyways, guys, I want to know your take on the whole situation. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole delay. Do you actually see it happening now, or you don't see it happening? Also, let me know your thoughts on another consortium. Maybe would that be a solution for you? Don't forget though, the more time that passes, that means most probably the money for the summer transfer window won't arrive. So let me know exactly your thoughts on the whole situation in the comment section, and I'll be getting right into those comments in just a short while. Italian Football TV, hi guys, thank you for tuning in first of all. They say, how did Inter do their sales so quickly? Big question we've been recently asking, why things are so different. Just to get to your question there, I don't know if it's Marco or Mike there currently typing, but from what I read, or at least from what I remember Sino Europe mentioning, apparently the whole thing with the Chinese and Inter occurred last summer. I think it was back in June, and apparently it was before certain regulations were implemented in the Chinese law. Now, I don't know if this whole thing is true or not, but this is what I read, and this is why they were saying about why the Inter sale happened so fast unlike the Milan one. So that's why, I think that's what I read, but the whole situation is just pretty ridiculous if you ask me. Moving on, Rakan says, thoughts about Bacchus scoring again. I'm happy, but this video is specifically for the delay and for the whole situation with Fininvest and Senior Europe. If you guys want to know about my thoughts on Bacca and the team on yesterday's performance, make sure to check out the other video. I did promise to the guys that wanted a video specifically on this whole situation today, so I'm going to be talking only about this. Cesar85 says, it seems that the Chinese government is causing the conflict, trying to keep money in their country. Well, this goes back to what I said about the regulations there coming in from China. It appears to be that it's very difficult, at least, like I said, I think these old new regulations came back in the summer. So that is why apparently it's harder to get money out of China into other countries. And that's why also, if you guys remember, I think I made this video a month or two ago when I said that the money from Sino Europe was actually being loaned out by other organizations coming in from off-sea other countries where there was tax havens. So that's why Senior Europe was getting these loans actually from these other organizations, so that money could be transferred quicker to Milan, and after that Senior Europe paid back that money that was loaned out by these organizations. But that's what we know right now at the moment. Chrissy says, Gio, if Milan doesn't sell, can we spend the 200 million in the summer? Well, the money is in Berlusconi's hands. That's what we know. But let's not forget that Fininvest and Milan have debts. I don't know if you guys read the latest news concerning Milan's debt, but last year they were in a deficit of 75 million euros. So that money is going to have to be paid by Fininvest. And originally, I mean, these these deficits, these debts were supposed to be paid by Sino Europe. They were supposed to be covered by Sino Europe. So I really don't think those 200 million would be all allocated towards the transfer market, even though this deal doesn't end up happening, even though Senior Europe ends up backing out. I don't think the whole 200 million euros will be going towards the transfer market. Like I said, Milan have debts to pay, they have fees and so forth, so I really don't think that's a solution. This goes back to the same question that Theo's mentioning here, where he says, why don't we use the deposits for the summer transfer window if the deal doesn't go through? So I already answered that question. A lot of people are asking me about it, but that's pretty much my take on why we won't be able to use all those 200 million. Diaco says, even if this deal does go through, what does this say about the Chinese Sino Europe? It doesn't give a good impression at all. If there was a problem with the Chinese government, say it publicly. Well, they did mention it publicly a few times, actually. I think this time around, I don't think it has to do too much with the whole situation with the Chinese government, but I think it's them wanting more time. And from what I've read, I think one of their investors backed out of the whole deal. Let's not forget that Sino Europe is composed of many investors, many people that are contributing their finances to the group. So it seemed to me, at least from what I read, that one of the investors backed out. But to be honest with you, I don't think because of one investor this whole deal is collapsing at the moment. I think there's more to it, and I do agree with you. I believe that, you know, if there's some issue with the government, they should be coming out publicly and state it, that, you know, the money is not coming out of the government. They're retaining our money. We're having trouble sending it out. But they did state this over and over again at times. I mean, this specific time, I don't think they really mentioned anything concerning it. But this was the main issue. This was the main problem in previous postponements as to why they were incapable of paying the money on time, or why the whole deal had to be postponed again. Moving on into some other comments. Eden says, did you read the conspiracy theories about Silvio laundering money? Do you believe those? I hope it's not the case, but it seems like it could be true. Personally, I mean, we all know Silvio Berlusconi. We all know his scandals. We all know these conspiracy theories that come out every once in a while. But to be honest with you, I don't think Silvio Berlusconi is using AC Milan as a money laundering system. And what I mean by this, the guy has kept the club for 30 years. Yes, there are theories of this possibly being true, but to be honest with you, I'm not too gullible about these theories. And what I mean by that, Silvio wants to sell the club. He knows he cannot take over this club anymore. He knows he cannot finance it anymore. Well, he could. He has all the money in the world, but he chooses not to. That I think we all know about Silvio. But, you know, I simply don't think that's the case. I think the whole deal with these Chinese and the impossibility of them currently paying this money is pretty much the issue at the moment. And I don't think it has to do anything with him laundering money at Milan. MacArthur says, people saying about Inter sale was quickly. You guys can't compare our Milan with that wrong copy. That's very true. Sempre Milan, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. He says, SES stated in December that regulations mean restrictions of any money going out of China, let alone huge sums. Senior Europe also spoke of a plan B back then. Do we think it hasn't worked? Yeah, that's a very good point there. Well, I didn't mention about the regulations and the restrictions of the money going out in China, but they also mentioned about this plan B. And personally speaking, I haven't heard about this plan B. Now, what I'm thinking this plan B could be is how they managed to pay the 100 million deposit back in December. And that, like I mentioned before, was from other organizations that are working with Sino Europe from countries that are capable of actually sending money to Italy to Fininvest. We read about these things. I think there was one, I don't remember exactly where, but it was from these tax haven countries. So, yeah, I think that's the plan B that they're talking about. I really don't know what their plan B is because they haven't mentioned it publicly. But they do say that they have a detailed business plan. They have this detailed business plan, but no one is aware of it. No one has ever known its intentions. We never really heard about what's in this business plan. Yes, we've heard about them allocating money towards the transfer market in the summer, this and that, but we've never really been shown the details of this business plan. That's what I mean here. MH81 says, Joe, do you think that in June, Milan are going to be bought in June? I think that's going to be really... I wouldn't say too late, but I want this whole thing to finish this season. Because in June, it's not nice to see. What I mean by that is, we're going to have to wait until June to this whole deal to finish. The money is going to have to be transferred to Fininvest. And I don't think the transfer money is going to be allocated right away to spend it right away. That's why I want everything to be finished before the season ends so that we could have clear minds and that we could work on our transfer market already in June rather than thinking about us selling the club again. But I just hope that it happens soon. Right now, I cannot tell you more. This is what I know. This is what everyone knows, considering the reports. Like I said, next week, if the 100 million deposit doesn't come in, this whole deal could be collapsing and we might not even be needing to speak about June anymore, because if this deal collapses and we even have to go with another consortium, in my eyes, I think this is going to take way more than June. And that's why I'm very afraid that, unfortunately, if this thing collapses, we won't be getting that money that we need for the summer transfer window. So we'll see what happens there. Star Caldera says, Joe, do you think we need takeover? Am I right? Yes, we definitely need a takeover. That's for sure. Who else is gonna put in the money to buy players? Chrissy says, if they paid 100 million this Friday, then can they take over or what? Well, the 100 million really doesn't correspond to what they still have to pay. If I'm not mistaken, I think they still have to pay about 320 million or something like that. And right now it's only 100 million that they have to deposit next Friday. So the 100 million, what it really is, it's a mean to keep these negotiations going on. And only if they pay these 100 million will there be a new agreement. Because what's important to state here is that on Friday, March the 3rd, that's when the agreement was set to expire. And what this means is that if the money didn't arrive on March the 3rd, then the whole deal would be collapsing. Now, Fininvest, being nice about the whole situation, or maybe they actually see the intentions of Senior Europe, are giving them another lifeline. Another lifeline to tell them, okay, we'll give you another week, but you have to give us 100 million euros, or else this whole thing is actually going to collapse. Because Senior Europe haven't met the deadlines. The deadline was expired. It was expired last week. Sorry, 2 days ago, on Friday. So now, what Fininvest is doing, they're giving them another chance to pay at least 100 million just to reopen these negotiations. But these 100 million that will be coming next week doesn't mean that the takeover is done and set. It's not complete. Because Senior Europe still have about 300 million euros to pay. They've only allocated 200 million. The 100 million will not complete the whole thing at all. Adel Figo says, I think that it's not just about the summer transfer market. With the Chinese, we could have a new stadium, and improved youth systems, some training facilities in China, a better brand overall, more fans. Definitely, these are all characteristics that will be coming, or at least we should be hoping to come with the Chinese. Yes, there's been talks about the new stadium, but those plans, those ideas are currently set to the side, and that's why, Milan is currently waiting to hold on to that, or at least Senior Europe is not currently considering it as their main priority at the moment. Their main priority at the moment is to buy the club and invest in the summer transfer market. Yes, about the training facilities in China, they mentioned about that. They want to implement training facilities in China. We have already said that. It will improve the youth system. It will attract more fans. We all know this. But the main priority here is to buy the club and, invest in the summer transfer window. Dave Nani, thank you for your contribution once again. You always contribute to the videos and I really appreciate it. So thank you for that. If you guys also want to contribute like Dave Nani did, make sure to hit on that super chat button. You can donate anything you want. And yeah, thank you for that, Dave Nani. Mr. Milanese22 says, Steve from Red Card Weekly just broke something else in his house. Oh, he breaks a lot of things, and it's not only in his house. Let's be honest about that. He actually says on Twitter, every time I hear closing, I get more and more angry and break something in my house. It will cost me more than the sale soon. I think it will, Steve, if you're watching. Did Sino Europe Sports lie about them having money? They didn't lie about having the money. I'm pretty sure that the money is there. Like I said, I'm not saying that the main reason as to why the money hasn't yet arrived is because of the Chinese restrictions, not letting them take out the money as fast as possible. There's definitely other things included into this, but I believe that the money is there. It's just a matter of time, and I don't know why it's taking so much time. If it's more than 8 months now that we've been waiting for that money to arrive. Some more questions before I sign off. Maybe two questions or more. Cesar85 says, so Senior Europe either gets creative in trying to get their money out, or Milan just has to accept smaller lump sums until payment is complete. And this is funny, because about the lump sums, originally Fininvest was saying no chance we're accepting lump sums. It's either you pay up or nothing. It's either you pay right away or nothing. So it's quite interesting about the lump sums. I mean, that could be a solution, but it's like someone going to going to buy something at the store, and every time a $10 thing, something costs $10, he's going to the store, here's $1, I'll pay it in 10 weeks from now, and then you can give me the thing that I want to buy. It's it's very frustrating to deal with these things. I know that there's a lot of money involved. I know that there's a lot of money to be spent here, and the situation is way more critical than the example I mentioned before. But it's very irritating. It's very irritating. The whole thing is very it's pissing people off, and unfortunately we've been waiting months and months and months. We've been speaking about this for months, and up until this day we still don't know what's gonna happen with this team. Oh, so Steve is watching. Hey Steve, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. He says, this is all Silvio's money which he invested over the years. It's a master plan to bring back the money. What do you think? Well, a plan to bring back the money that he invested, that could be it. I mean, definitely all the money that he spent, he's gonna want it back. We spoke about it before. Fininvest seemed to be 75 million euros in debt just in fees last year in 2016. The balance sheet came up and they're really in debt about that amount of money. So yes, I mean, the money that he's going to be getting from Senior Europe, he's definitely going to be keeping it to himself. He's not going to be giving it to his kids. He's not going to be giving it to his grandkids. He's going to keep it to himself. I don't think the club, yes, has value to him, but the money that he spent in these past recent years really hasn't been that indicative. And maybe money that he spent before that, yes, it was more, and he wants to make some money back. But at the end of the day, the money that's going to be coming to him from Senior Europe is going to be ending up in his hands. So he can do whatever he wants about the whole situation. but it's important that he gets rid of it. He gets rid of the club. He sends it to people that are interested in investing money, because he simply won't be doing it. Maybe he thinks he invested too much money. He's not getting anything back. He is a greedy person, so that's why he might want all that money back to himself. But that's really the only thing I could think of at the moment. Adolf Fiegel says, from Mr. Beat to now, 2 years and counting. That's very, very true. Abdi Ali says, it's becoming a joke, the situation. It really is a joke. It's definitely a big joke, and I said it from the beginning. I just don't understand why we're taking this much time. Yes, the Chinese regulations and everything, but enough is enough. Like, how many more excuses could you possibly come up with to excuse this whole thing postponing again and again? Steve, we'll definitely set up something very, very soon. Hoping that you could have your say on the show as well. But yeah, we'll definitely set up something soon, that's for sure. If Silvio keeps Milan, will he invest on great players? Very, very unlikely. He said it himself. If he is to keep Milan, he's gonna pretty much get the players from the youth system, or he's going to be investing on Italians in Italy. And personally, I don't think that's gonna involve a lot of money. He's not gonna be purchasing players for 50 million euros, that's for sure. He's gonna be keeping, at least the core. He wants to keep it Italian, and he's going to be focusing a lot on players in the youth system. That's what I remember reading, at least. So, guys, thank you all for your questions. The question and answer period is done. I hope I clarified some points regarding the whole sale and the whole delay. Like I said, we should be expecting, at least that's what Berlusconi and Fininvest is saying, we should be expecting another 100 million deposit next Friday. I will be keeping you guys updated throughout the week over this situation and whether or not it's gonna happen. So make sure you stay tuned to Rossoneri TV. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything going on at AC Milan. And I'll be catching you guys soon for yet another video. This has been Gio signing off, and as always, Forza Milan.